Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it was our fault. We made a mistake. The spotter said it was clear. It wasn't clear, and, I didn't want to tear my car up, tear his car up either. I respect everybody, and I demand respect. And, I apologized to the guy when he came over the car, explained to him what happened, and then he took it to another level when he started calling me an idiot and whatever else. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to take it. I told him how I felt. I called him out. He didn't show. And so, I'm good with it if he's good with it, but I'm not going to be disrespected by no means.
Yeah, I guess I had a dinner date at Applebee's last night that I didn't find out about until it was too late. It's a shame. Love their riblets and boneless wings, but...
All right, folks, welcome back to Meet Me at Applebee's, your number one unrefined motorsports podcast. It's Brian here again with Rob and Ashley. And folks, the NASCAR season is over, and we actually all went to a race together, and we are here to talk about all of it. So how are we doing this week?
Coughing up dust. How about you, Truelove?
Yep, same. We all three sound like shit, so bear with us.
That was a genuine cough right there.
Yep, we all managed to finally make it to one race together, the World Finals in Charlotte, and we're going to talk about that this week, along with the NASCAR races we didn't watch, in kind of chronological order, because I guess it makes the most sense since we were all actually in the same place at the same time. So
yeah, a little different this week.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start off. Rob, you were the first one who was supposed to get into town first, but
supposed to be, yeah. Holy fucking shit.
Talk a little bit about your Thursday travel.
Well, my plan on Thursday, I had a flight at 10:30, gonna get me into Charlotte midday, just enough time to go drop my stuff off at my brother-in-law's house. And by the way, thanks to them for putting me up. Had the whole family down there, and we'll get into that later. Got to share some dirt racing with them as well, but had a nice little plan lined up. Everything went pretty well. It did take me 3 hours to get into Boston because the Pike was backed up, which, that was already set my anxiety to level 15. Got to the airport. Everything was all good. Breezed through security, straight onto the plane. Got in my seat, and I was like, holy shit, this all actually worked out. How about it? And then they make the announcement to close the doors, and all of a sudden the pilot comes on and is like, hang on a sec, folks. We're going to have maintenance take a look at something real quick before we back out of here. I was like, fuck, But whatever, I'm on the plane. It doesn't matter. Usually it doesn't amount to anything. We'll probably sit here an hour, and then they'll send us on our way, right? That's usually how it goes. Yeah. Nope, 5 minutes after the announcement was made, the guy was like, I don't know how to really say this without being blunt, so I'm just going to say it. I need you guys all to leave the plane. We're going to have to find a different plane or bring another one in. Sorry, I don't know when it's going to be. I don't have answers, but we got to get you out of here. And it's like, son of a bitch. So that begins the whole mad dash of refreshing your American Airlines app, trying to see if the flight's been officially opened for you to move shit around, go stand in line, go watch some other fucking knuckle draggers yell at these people who have nothing to do with, the problem at hand. I guess, at the end of the day, I'd rather be alive than not alive, so I'll take a plane that works over one that doesn't. Anyway, the app finally updates, and it updates my departure time to 8 p.m., and at this point, it's 11 in the morning. So I'm full on.
Ooh, full shift.
Full on losing my shit internally. Fortunately, I wasn't the only person on the plane heading down to the finals. There were some folks a little bit further north from me. I forget where they were at. Kind of North Shore, closer to New Hampshire, Maine, that kind of area, and they were all heading down there. In fact, a couple of the guys actually run a pro stock team down in Seekonk, which is pretty cool. Unfortunately, I forgot their names because I got drunk, but they were great guys, and it was cool to hang out with some racing people. It was kind of funny to listen to them talk about, what was going on. I guess one of them talked to somebody, and they actually gave him an insight of what was going on. There was some sort of vent that was stuck open. One of the guys was like, oh, hell, they should just tape that shit off and get us going. And it's like, yep, these guys are fucking racers. That sounds about right. Anyway, so when it becomes evident that no other option is going to get me to Charlotte in time to see any racing, I kind of text the boys and everyone I was going to meet up with and tell them it's not happening. But if you're around, around 11 o'clock, I'll be in town. Let's link up. Maybe we'll have a drink somewhere. It gets to 8 o'clock, and then, of course, the flight gets delayed again until a 10 p.m. departure time, and I'm just at this point, I'm completely over it. I did get to see a mouse running around the terminal with a cracker in his mouth. That was pretty exciting. I did watch the races I was supposed to be at on my laptop. Got to see what's his name? Oh, Ricky Thornton Jr. won the late model feature. That was cool. David Gravel won the sprint car feature, and Fuller, was it not? I want to say Jeff Fuller. That's not right though, because that's not a modified guy. A guy named Fuller. I forget. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, modified folks. I'm not well versed in that. But I did get to see some racing. It is what it is. And eventually we got in the plane. We got there. I landed about midnight, and I'm like, thank fucking God. You know, I'm a budget customer. And I don't know if you guys know what the fast break program is, but if you sign up for it, you can just walk upstairs and basically show them your ID. They hand you your keys, and it's good to go. That's it. You don't have to stand in line downstairs with everybody else. Mm-hmm. And, of course, by the time I make it up there, there's a full-on shouting match going on between this lady trying to close up shop 2 hours early and, like, 6 or 7 other customers. And I stand there for about 20 minutes, and I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, dude. And then finally, I just, like, kind of, like, did the thing where I like raised my hand and I was like, I don't mean to break into y'all's shit here, but is there another line downstairs I can get my car from? And the lady behind the counter was like, yes. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go down there. So I led the mass exodus down there to a very long line, which took me about an hour and 45 minutes to get through. I think they were supposed to be closed by the time I picked my car up. And finally I get to the counter. I talked to the guy, super nice, and granted the shitty work conditions he was under. I wouldn't wish working on the budget counter at Charlotte. By the way, that airport can suck my dick right out of my ass. That place fucking sucks. But anyway. He goes, oh, man, the only way I can get you out of here right now is if I put you in a 12-passenger van. Is that cool? And I'm just like, I don't give a shit. Yes. And I go out there, and it's pretty much the white version, the spitting image of my band's van sitting out there. So it's like, perfect. I'm right at home here. This means I can sleep in it if anything goes sideways, which we'll get to that later. You know, I don't have to worry about sleeping in a Kia Soul if I decide to get drunk. Perfect. So anyway, I hop in the car.
Originally, you were supposed to get a lime green Kia Soul.
That's correct. That's what I had ordered, and I definitely got an upgrade. I looked at the cost of the thing, and those vans are $250 a day. So even though it's not a luxury vehicle by any means, it's exactly what I need. So I was stoked. Finally got to my brother-in-law's house at like 3 in the morning and just passed the fuck out. And yeah, not ideal. Got about 3 hours of sleep before my nephew was banging on the door, you know, trying to wake me up and see Uncle Rob. So, you know, you got to get up and see that and do it. So went and hung out with the family for a bit. My brother-in-law and I snuck off probably around 11 o'clock to go check out SHR one last time, because we had heard tell that you could still go to the gift shop and kind of see the cars parked out there. But by the time we got there, the doors are completely locked up. They had cleaned out the gift shop. And in fact, the big stone Stuart Haas Racing sign that they had out in front of the shop was laying on its side and cracked in half on the pavement. So very appropriate.
Hadn't even raced yet that weekend.
Well, I mean, it's fucked up.
A pile of rubble.
I mean, the story is that the crews, once they loaded up on Tuesday or Wednesday, that was it. They had to clean their lockers out. They had to get everything out, and they just took everything they had with them to Phoenix. So, yeah, not the way you would hope to see a championship organization like Stuart Haas shut down. Again, I know that they've had some hard times in years past, but, I mean, they have, you know, we said it last week, 101 wins now, I guess, with Riley Herbst getting the Xfinity win. But, yeah, just it sucks to see that. You don't want to see a race shop close, and yeah, it is what it is. We also
didn't even have a shop to go back and celebrate in.
No, not at all. They're just doing it in the parking lot of the Hampton Inn and fucking Scottsdale, where they stick them. I don't know. We also went to Hendrick for a second, where pretty much, you know, it was filled with people in dirt racing T-shirts. You know, I always find that funny on World Finals weekend. There's all these people who say they don't watch NASCAR at all and probably shit on it, but then of course they're at the Hendrick Museum buying shit, you know. So I get it. I'm the same way. So it is what it is. And we stopped by the track real quick to get our wristbands and all that, and then went back to the house, and that was pretty much about the time that old Ashley Truelove was rolling into Charlotte on the Greyhound. Isn't that right?
That is correct. I got there around 12:30, and our friend Kyle Ayala picked me up, who ended up spending the whole weekend with us. So
yeah,
he'll get mentioned a lot. But We went to the track first thing to go ahead and get my pit pass and walked around the merch haulers while we were waiting for Rob to get back to the track. So I was very surprised by the merch haulers there. I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting that. There was so much good merch.
Yeah.
I was normally when I see dirt fans wearing shirts, I'm like, oh, that shirt's garbage. But then at the track, I was like, there's so many great options. I don't know why these dirt fans aren't buying these great shirts, but there's a lot to choose from.
Yeah, lots of good stuff. And of course, it's all owned directly by the drivers and teams too, so you're not dealing with fanatics or any of that bullshit. So
yeah. So I did a quick lap through there, and then we were walking back through the parking lot, and a white van rolled up next to us, honked the horn, and it's old Uncle Rob.
Hi. It's me.
So we just stood around the parking lot for a minute trying to figure out where we were going to go eat lunch at.
Yep, and the answer that we landed on was Michael Waltrip's tap room, bar, and grill, or whatever the fuck it's called. As we're debating on what menu items we're gonna pick up, my good buddy James Honeycutt rolled up in the parking lot. Shout out to him, and also friend of the program and former guest Kyle Armstrong showed up just about the same time. So we had us a nice little crew. I think they were all not thrilled with our choice of going to Mikey's place for lunch, but we did it nonetheless.
So now, Ashley, how did this one compare to the one in Bristol that we went to?
This one was much larger. So this used to be a shitty bar called Hot Shots that I used to go to. And then I guess Mikey bought it, and it's basically still the same shitty bar. He just slapped a coat of paint on it. Yeah. But it's much, much larger.
And the sad thing about it is that prior to that, it used to be the Quaker Steak and Lube, which, used to have a bunch of NASCAR shit in the walls and all that, and it was kind of a landmark. But yeah, it feels like being at the airport, and after, 15 hours in the Logan airport, it was certainly not what I was hoping for. There is a little stack of Mikey's helmets up at the door.
Uh-huh.
But
there's some merchandise you can buy, some terrible shirts and hats and whatnot.
Yeah. But yeah, we sat down and we had talked about what was the name we thought? Mikey's sauce, his special sauce that he sells there.
Michael Waltrip's special sauce. Yeah. And then we got to looking at the menu, and they also had Michael Waltrip's Dust, which I think me and Rob both ordered.
Was the sauce called Essence of Dale?
No, just Mikey's sauce. That's where
Which I think Kyle ordered that.
Yeah, he did.
I think we all tried it. I couldn't figure out what it was.
Yeah, it was like a weird chipotle mayo kind of thing, but it was a little sweet. And the dust was also kind of sweet. It was like almost like a Cajun seasoning without any of the cayenne or paprika or anything like that. But it was actually pretty good.
It was good. I did enjoy his dust.
Yeah. The beers, on the other hand, mine was okay. It was an airport beer, pretty much. I would probably order it if I saw it in an airport. But Truelove ordered, what was it, the fucking...
I ordered Talladega Light, which I had never had before. Usually I get his 2 blondes or whatever, but I didn't see it on the menu. So I got Talladega Light, and it was the worst light beer I have ever had in my life. And I've had some bad ones. I mean, it was basically translucent. It looked like dirty tap water.
I thought you bought like a fucking cider or something like that because it was so pale. But it was... Definitely they ran it under the sink before they brought it out to you.
Yeah, Mikey's beer sucks. Like, I will say that about my experience going to his place. His beer sucks. It's just awful. Just like his race team, his career, everything. It's awful.
Well, so our server was very nice. Some cute girl. And then there was a floor manager who walked up to check on us. And as soon as she walked away, we all kind of looked at each other. Everyone was like, was that fucking Buffy? Because it looked pretty damn close to Buffy Waltrip or whatever her last name is now.
Yeah.
And I even pulled a picture up of her, and I'm still not convinced.
Still, yeah. The jury is still out on that one.
So Buffy may have picked up a shift. As we were leaving, she encouraged us to come back because they're open till 2.
She'd be there till 2, yeah.
Yep. And we said sure thing. And Also, the bathrooms have lockers in them for some reason.
Yeah, it's very. So I left with questions.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'll be returning to Michael Waltrip's.
No, you shouldn't.
I love this bar and grill.
I mean, just think about. I mean, we'll get to the Applebee's experience, but I mean, think about where you went to this weekend for food, and in comparison.
Oh,
to
my body's
Waltrip.
fucking angry. Yeah, it's not thrilled with any of the decisions I made, but. Yeah, it's right next to the racetrack, so if you need something quick and convenient, I guess it is there, but I don't know, for the price, it was serviceable, but still, I'd rather go to Chili's, personally, Excuse me, Applebee's. I'd rather go to Applebee's.
We'll get to that, too. So I guess while you guys were doing all this stuff, I was driving down from Ohio, and I got there pretty much right after late model heats were getting finished.
Did you stop to piss in any Goodwills on your way down?
Didn't piss in any Goodwills. Yeah. Didn't thrift to do anything on the way down. It was pretty much just a straight shot because I got a late start. So the only stop I made was Bojangles, of course.
Yeah, as you do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, before that, we went back to the track, and Rob went on a wild goose hunt for a bandana, which they don't sell, which is surprising.
Yeah, so,
they only sell terrible gaiters with skulls on them.
Yeah, I bought a sick World of Outlaws gaiter, which I will probably never wear again because I don't know if you guys know what I look like, but I have a really large beard, and it just puffs out, and I look like I have some sort of growth on my neck, and it just didn't really suit me all that well.
All the while, he was downing a bottle of Johnny Bootlegger grape.
Yep.
So...
Absolutely.
Really kicking the day off strong there.
Yep, just a little bit of Mikey's sauce and slurping the perp, and I was ready to rip and watch some dirt racing. Swung through the Zen tent. Of course, they had an activation there, 3 for $1, or sorry, 3 cans for $1 each, which is still a great deal. I was telling you guys before the show, I walked up there, and you got to show the lady at the gate your ID, and she's like, "Are you a nicotine user?" And I, without thinking, just said, "Hell yes." Yes, I am. And like way too much enthusiasm for this woman who's probably dealt with, hundreds of morons like me all day. But she was nice, and that I got my menthol zins, and I was ready to watch some dirt racing and see some people, which we did.
That we did. We did not see Randy LaJoy. That is one person we didn't see.
Not allowed in there.
It's funny because I saw some rumors today about Rick Ware possibly selling one of his charters, and somebody in the responses was Randy's buying that. I'm like, no, he's not. I saw his seat tent. He cannot afford a cup team, that's for sure.
Yeah, I would be shocked. But I mean, hey, they sell a lot of racing seats, and the quality of that is good, unlike the driving of his son. But what happened after that? Shit. We met up with some friends. Of course, Kyle Armstrong was bopping around the racetrack. He now works at Simpson, which is a really cool company. Helmets, seatbelts, all the safety gear you want, and some really cool hoodies if you want to go pick one up from him. He just started that job. He's going to be traveling around the dirt races all over the country, manning that trailer. So if you go to any of the big events, Knoxville Nationals, Kings Royal, that kind of shit, you can go see him and go say hi to him on behalf of us if you can. Met up with some other friends. My good buddy Justin and his family have marked off a bunch of seating in the pit grandstands and on the grass back there. And they invited us in to come sit with them. I don't know if he was expecting us to bring the horde that we did, but he was very gracious about it. And it was so thank you guys for sharing your space with us. We really appreciate it.
Very thankful that they shared that spot with us.
Yeah, and so we got settled in there, the 4 of us, and we started watching some racing. And it was pretty good. I would say the heats are kind of what they are. Pretty single file affair. A lot of people complaining about the track prep, just they would go out and add more water every now and again and kind of tear it up instead of letting it rubber off, which I know all the late model fans were hoping would happen because that makes for some pretty good racing at Charlotte when they let that happen. But yeah, I don't know if you guys know this about Charlotte, if you haven't been there before. The dirt in the Carolinas, it's that beautiful red dirt, but unfortunately it's no matter how much water you put on it, it's just dusty as fuck. You cannot kill the dust. And especially when the big blocks got out there, heavy-ass cars, just on this, very fine dust that you can't contain. And, yeah, it was real dusty.
Yeah, for sure.
especially when you get the full fields out there.
Yep. Trying to think who won that night, who won each race. Did Pierce win late models?
He did that first
Yeah,
night.
Bob
Yes, he
Pierce
did. That's
won.
right, because, yes, he did win. I think Matt Williamson won.
Yeah, Matt Williamson won the
Modifieds.
modified feature, and then Carson Macedo picked up a win. Buddy Kofoid was he was on a charge, and then he ended up putting his right rear in the fence, nearly flipped it. Honestly, a pretty safe night. Sometimes you see some pretty big accidents at Charlotte, just due to the speed. But yeah, nothing too crazy that night. Jacob Allen got a little bit sideways, and Landon Crawley had some problems. But other than that, pretty mellow night of racing. Also, worth noting that my brother-in-law and my father-in-law did come out. My brother-in-law usually comes out to the finals with me. This is the first time that my father-in-law has ever been to a short track race or race at all. So he picked a pretty good one to see me and the boys.
It was nice to meet him. I'd met your brother-in-law before a show a couple years ago.
Yeah, really great people, and it's funny to see an old Yankee like him get his first experience at a place like Charlotte amongst all my dirt late model friends and y'all, and he had a great time. And we walked around the pits for a little bit. He's asking me questions and all that. It was awesome to share this world with him, especially someone who has no real knowledge of it or has never seen anything quite like that. And one thing he did say to me, which has kind of stuck with me and it was really nice, was, that the people are all super friendly and just how nice the vibe is. And he thought that was awesome. And then he said this to me, a little personal thing, is like, I really enjoy getting to see you in your element here.
Oh.
It's really cool to see you, with all these people and, kind of let loose. And I get it,
Yeah.
which
nice.
was the desired effect. Yeah. And yeah, they also stuck around to the bitter end. I kind of figured they'd leave after heats
They
or something
did.
like that, but no, he was sitting with the crew, with Kyle and Kenny and all the boys. What else happened? I drank a little bit of Jaeger with Fireball, who of course is Scott Bloomquist's right hand man. That was pretty cool. Jackie Rumley came by and said, "What's up?" Of course, they were fielding the car for Jonathan Davenport, and he had a pretty good night. I think he made it up to third or fifth in the feature, something like that. Davenport, of course, really got his major start there. He'd been racing late models for a while, but the Rumley car is where he really started finding success and got his first World 100 win, first Dream win, and all that. So it was cool to see him back in there, and her and Kevin are great folks, so always nice to see them. And there's a shit ton of other folks from my travels and all of our travels that were hanging out, and just a very, very deep crew. Everyone's so friendly and so nice to hang out with everybody.
Let's not forget the two very drunk ladies that were hanging out in the group, who one of them asked if I was Kid Rock. And
She meant that so serious too. I
Yeah,
think she genuinely, from the depths of her soul, thought that you were Kid Rock. She was so fucking wasted.
I don't know if I should have been flattered or offended by that comparison, but
It made my whole day.
it was definitely funny. Yes, I got a kick out of that for sure.
She said that she was from West Virginia and she just kind of kept repeating herself. So she was stuck in a loop.
While all this stuff was happening, the truck race series finale was happening, and we didn't see a second of it. But
Well,
Ty
Rob's
Majeski,
brother-in-law had it on his phone a little bit, but
yeah, I didn't
just watched
see
a couple
any
minutes.
seconds of
Yeah.
it. So I don't really know what happened. It didn't seem like, from any reports I saw, that anything crazy or chaotic happened compared to last year. But Ty Majeski did win, so that was good. I think that's who we were all pulling for. Him and Grant. Would have been nice to see either one of those two get the title. So
Yeah, I got no problem with Ty Majeski winning that.
yeah, that was good. So maybe when I go out to Michigan on my next weed run, I'll stop by Thor Sport and check out the trophy.
There you go.
But but then after that, we made our way to the Thirsty Beaver, which was my first experience going to this particular bar. And it's a cool spot. I mean, you guys have talked about it a bunch before. But yeah, it's this little tiny hole in the wall spot that's now got condos surrounding it, which is an interesting look. And it was definitely more full of like college kids than I guess I would have anticipated from what all you guys have told me. But
it was
again,
a weekend night.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
crowd
being
there
there
is always unpredictable. Like, you never know who's going to be in there because Midwood's such a weird neighborhood now. It's kind of got a little of everything. That there are folks who come specifically for the Beaver, but the Beaver also functions as the neighborhood bar too.
Yeah.
So you'll see every stripe of person up in that place.
yeah, that makes sense.
And this particular night, the big reason we went down there was not just to see the place, although that was definitely, we wanted to show Brian our spot, but Cloakroom happened to be playing, of course, Bobby Marco's friend of the program. Their band played opening for Better Lovers at the Fillmore, or the Underground at the Fillmore that night, and our good friend Matthew Dillner went to that show instead of going to the racetrack, and so we all wanted to meet up with them. Of course, Bobby, a big-time race fan. If you've listened to this show, you've probably seen their TV show that he and Bobby did together called Lost Speedways on Peacock. Great stuff. We talked about it a bunch in here, so I don't got to give you the recap on that. But I will say this, going into the Beaver at midnight, relatively sober, is a different experience than usual for me. Usually I'm landing at like 7 o'clock, and you kind of sink into the place, and it doesn't really change. You change with it,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But this was it's a little different going there.
I think me and Rob had hit a wall on the way there.
Oh, yeah.
And we had parked kind of far away, so we had a long walk to get there, too. So,
Yeah,
showing
definitely.
up basically re-sober, and everyone else was at 11. It was like, oh.
Yeah.
I didn't have that problem because I had I managed to find a nice little spot to parallel park in right across the street. So I beat you guys there and saw Jay first, and saw Dillner, and it was nice to finally meet him. And upon meeting him, he was like, "Listen, if you any hams you want, put them on my tab. But if I see any White Claws or anything like that, there's going to be a problem." So I did take it off. I did have one hams on Dillner. So thank you, Matt.
Nice. Matt also had on a shirt that he had custom made. He didn't make it because of us, but he wore it to the bar that night. After the original Mike Harmon Applebee's incident happened, he made, I think it was like T-Public or something like that.
Yeah.
He went and made a one-off T-shirt with Mike Harmon's face that just says Applebee's underneath it, which was great.
It was great.
Yeah. And of course, then he wore these Wild Plains hat in honor of me, which, by the way, the bartender also had her hat on. So definitely weird to go into a place and there's multiple pieces of merch at a show I'm not playing.
I had an interesting experience with that bartender that night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Went inside to order a Coors, and it was very loud and crowded. And she was stuffing her face with a buffalo chicken wrap or something. And I said, 1 Coors. And she said, what? I said, 1 Coors. She said, oh, okay. So I handed her a $20 bill, and she hands me back some change. I was like, okay, here's my change. I stuffed it in my purse, and I'm standing there waiting for my beer. I'm waiting. It never shows up. She's continuing to stuff her face. I was like, okay, I'll give her a minute to finish eating. Still no beer. And I finally said, you never gave me my beer. And she was like, what beer? I was like, my Coors. She said, oh, I thought you said a quarter. I thought you ordered a quarter. What? So this lady gave me 19 ones and then 4 quarters and thought that that's what I ordered. I was like, I think it's time to leave.
Yeah, we stood out in the porch for a little while and bench raced and just talked some shit. It was fun. I won't. There was a guy out there. I don't even remember his name, to be honest with you. But I'll leave some of the details out. I guess he works for a pretty big team and built some pretty notable cars in his day. And I think he had some very interesting insight and stories in him, but he was also just way too wasted to really get them out effectively.
Mm-hmm.
You're just talking about going to different strip clubs.
Well, we actually had a conversation about racing after that that would have been enlightening if he wasn't shithoused and if I wasn't falling asleep standing up.
Yeah.
But that was a cool experience. He did offer to get us into a particular museum at some point to take a look at it. I don't think he remembers it, but we'll give that a shot next time I'm in town and see how far we go. Yeah, really nice to see Bobby and those guys. They have a lot of dates left, so if you see Cloakroom coming through your town, make sure you go see them. Just the sweetest group of guys. And Doyle's into racing too, as it turns out. We talked sprint cars a little bit. I didn't realize that. But yeah, just it was good to see everybody, and that was kind of the overarching thing of the weekend was just how many more friends can you pack into this experience?
Yeah, it was really cool to meet a bunch of these people that I know were listeners of the show or people that I've interacted with online and stuff, and like everybody was super, super nice, so that was really cool.
Yeah.
But then after that, we both parties, because Ashley and I split off. We went with our friend and past guest Kyle Ayala. We stayed at his place. Rob stayed at his brother-in-law's house.
Well, sort of.
Well, so Kyle just moved down to North Carolina to go to the NASCAR Institute, and his apartment really doesn't have a whole lot in it. So there's no couches or anything. There's like one air mattress, which I got because I drove. Ashley let me have it, but Ashley bought her own separate air mattress, and it took all three of us to figure out how to inflate it because it came with this self-inflation pump thing in it.
Pump.
And basically, once it was finally inflated, she was basically sleeping on a pool floaty.
Well, I
so.
slept great once I finally got it inflated, but it was like 4 a.m. and trying to read these tiny instructions when all I wanted to do was lay flat and go to sleep was just, it was a special layer of hell that.
Yeah.
At one point, I was like, Kyle, if you just got a blanket that I can lay down on the ground, I will just please, I'll just lay on the hardwood floor with a blanket. But I finally got my little pool floaty inflated, and it did fine for me. So
yeah. But yeah, Rob's experience was a little different, so you can tell us that.
While Truelove was tilting over her miniature air mattress, so I stayed sober for this. We got back to the racetrack. Originally, since I got a van, I was like, again, if things go sideways, I have a comfortable place to lay my head. I had a sleeping bag with me and everything. All good, And I really wish I would have gone harder at the Thirsty Beaver instead of not going hard at the Thirsty Beaver. I get back to the van, hop in, drive back to my brother-in-law's place, about 15 minutes away. He had texted me earlier in the night, hey, man, I'm leaving the side door of the garage open so you can get in the house. Just lock it behind you when you come in. I'm like, perfect. I got access. This is great. Roll up to the house. Of course, side door's fucking locked. I'm like, all right, well, they never locked their front door, so I'm sure I'll be able to get in through there. That's locked too. And now I'm starting to be like, oh shit, what are we gonna do here? Like, do I just go to sleep in the van, or do I try something else? And I chose fuck it. I'm tired and delirious. Let's try something else. I really want to get to my shit inside the house so I can brush my teeth and have a glass of water and try and do something good for myself before bed. So I like break in through their back gate, kind of stick my arm through the holes in the fence and like eventually get it open. Go to the back door, it's locked. I'm checking windows, they're all locked. And I'm like, wait a second, maybe there's a garage door opener in one of their cars. So I'm out there like tugging on doors and all that, and my brother's car is unlocked. So I hop up in there and I got my flashlight out and I'm like looking around. And I kind of have this realization that I just rolled up in an unmarked van with out-of-state plates. I look the way I do. I'm fucking disgusting after a night at the racetrack. And I'm just rummaging around in just to what the neighborhood assumes, their neighbor's car. And they don't know who the fuck I am. And I'm just like, this could go pretty bad if someone happens to see this right now. And the thing is, I could have just called, but my brother-in-law, they have a pretty young kid. And once he wakes up, that's kind of it. So I wasn't about to cause a commotion in the house. And so I just resigned myself to my original plan of sleeping in the van. Originally, that was supposed to be in the dragway at the dirt track, but instead it was in my brother-in-law's driveway. So it is what it is. And of course, like I thought it would happen, my brother-in-law was out there at 6 a.m. banging on the window, apologizing to get me to come inside like a regular person. And again, I had no problem with it. It is what it is. But yeah, definitely... Yeah, a second night of folly for Uncle Rob over here.
Mm-hmm.
Should have had those.
Kia Soul.
No, should have had those shots at the Beaver. Son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was our Friday into Saturday early morning.
Very early morning.
Part of the trip. But Saturday was when the main event of everything was going to happen, and we were finally going to get some food together. So prior to that, the three of us, Kyle, Ashley, and I, we went to the North Carolina Motorsports Hall of Fame, which was cool. Spent like an hour walking around there and checking that out. And that's a cool little spot. I think we've talked about it on the show before. And, aside from the million other things there are to see racing-wise in the Charlotte area, that's one of them. So that was a cool little stop. And then also, I wanted to see the Days of Thunder barn because that's one of the other million touristy NASCAR things you do. So I went and got my picture in front of that, and we made our way to our lunch destination. Meanwhile, Rob, what were you doing?
Well, I after taking a shower and all that, or actually, I went upstairs and took a little bit of a nap, try and catch a few more Z's before what I imagine would be a pretty long night. Because again, I had to be up pretty early the following morning to get to the airport. I stumbled downstairs, still, I didn't take a shower or anything, just covered in dirt, looking like shit. And it turns out my little nephew has a soccer game. He's like in a Bumblebee soccer league or whatever. And he goes, "Uncle Rob, you come with us?" And then I'm just like, "Yeah, give me 10 minutes." I can't miss this. I got to be the shitty uncle and show up looking the way I do. So I hopped in the shower and hauled up to Huntersville and watched him. Well, I guess he's not much of a soccer player because he's a kid, but he was doing this thing. Not to talk about my nephew too much, but he'll do this thing where he'll stand really still and drop his head, and he'll make a little beeping noise, beep, 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 my battery's low. And he was doing that in the middle of the field, and my brother-in-law had to go out there and recharge him to get him going again. It's like, this is too fucking cute. And as that was happening, I get a call from my buddy Kenny, who was sitting with us all weekend, and he wanted me to stop by Twin Peaks and meet up for a beer. So I immediately left the Wholesome event and went straight to Twin Peaks.
Now,
which we did. We had a nice beer, and then after that, it was time for the blessed event.
So you didn't make any sweet friends, as per our friend Jerry at Twin Peaks?
No, I barely saw our waitress. She came by and gave me my beer, and I never saw her again. So I just left those guys money and got the fuck out of there because I had a date.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, this was it, folks. We finally did it. We finally made a family trip to Applebee's, and
yes, we did.
It was about as disappointing of a meal as I was anticipating it to be. I don't think I've been, not to break kayfabe here, but I don't think I've been to an actual Applebee's in probably 10, 15 years. And
yeah, me either.
Yeah, walk in, and while we're waiting for Rob, I go to the bathroom, and there's like a pile of drywall in the corner, so that was a good omen.
Some of Mikey's dust, that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
The gypsum mine.
Yeah, the hostess had asked if we wanted to sit at a high top table. I was like, well, do you happen to have a corner booth here? And she's like, I have this thing here. And it was kind of a oval-shaped booth
like a
at
stage.
the very front of the restaurant. So we were sitting facing outward into the entire restaurant, which definitely 100% felt like a stage.
Yeah.
So it was awkward.
We had originally planned on maybe doing a little recording or something to put up from the Applebee's, but yeah, the venue that they stuck us in was so awkward, and it was so quiet in there.
So there was a lot of tables that were full in there, but it was so quiet.
Yeah.
It felt like we were doing a very awkward show for about 13 people that didn't give a fuck about it.
So pretty much normal.
But Rob and Kyle decided to go with the sampler platter, which was very much full of tortilla chips.
Mostly chips. Yeah.
I went with the a prime rib sandwich, I think, which was very reminiscent of Subway to me, where it's like you think you're getting something that's like, okay, this isn't the grossest thing they have, and it was fine, but there was something that didn't feel real about it. Like, it didn't feel like I was actually eating real food.
I mean, why do you think there's a stack of drywall next to the bathrooms? You know?
And I know Ashley got shrimp something, but I forget
Bourbon
exactly.
steak, right?
Some kind of chicken with shrimp on top of it, and garlic mashed potatoes, and I was not aware when I ordered it that it was going to come out on a very loud, sizzling platter that was just popping hot oil all over the place, and would then proceed to severely burn my tongue trying to enjoy my shrimp. So I can still feel the burn when I think about.
Yeah, fun little tidbit about the Concord Applebee's, courtesy of Kyle Armstrong. Apparently, back in the day, they used to push the tables aside in there, and they would have a DJ, and people would dance and do karaoke and get real shitty until closing time, and then they referred to it as Club Apple. So the vibe couldn't be
any of those.
The vibe couldn't be further from Club Apple when we were up in there, but.
Yeah, Kyle found some kind of mystery chunk in his dip.
Yeah.
I think he drank some kind of
Shirley Temple
pop rocks in it.
Yes, that's what he had. So
yeah, our booth did have pictures of some race cars in it though. So
yeah, there was
fitting.
There was a NASCAR theme. Again, Applebee's has definitely pared down the amount of shit on their walls from back in the day, which is disappointing. I was kind of hoping that maybe there'd be a little bit more, especially given where this place was located. There'd be a little bit more NASCAR stuff in there, but they had pretty much succumbed to the gray washing of the rest of fast casual dining in the U.S. But there was still some cool stuff up on the walls there. A couple of nice pictures and some Car Tomorrow shit up on the wall across from us.
But as Rob said it while we were in there, we're in this town with so many great places to eat, and here we are at Applebee's. Yeah. But hey, we did it. We finally got to do it.
We never have to do it again.
Yeah. Well, until we all end up at Indy and have to go to the Applebee's, which we won't have to actually go to. We'll just take a photo outside.
Yeah,
that's all. That's all we need.
That's what you think.
Yeah, we'll end up in there. We'll have to at least get drinks. I'm gonna try a Pop Rock soda and see what kind of diabetes I can get out of that. Not my favorite meal of the weekend, considering the other restaurants were Michael Waltrip's Tap Room and McDonald's. That's the bar was already pretty low. But I'm glad we did it, and I'm glad we don't have to do it again. I think what was the slogan I came up with for Applebee's? Pretend you're at Chili's. That's what it was. Yeah.
When you're here, you're disappointed.
We were also made aware this weekend that there is an Applebee's in Detroit that is an Applebee's IHOP combination.
Yeah, we were sitting there at the track on Friday night, and then Kyle Armstrong leans over with his phone and is like, "Check it out, Rob, we got breaking news." And I thought it was going to be something racing related, but nope, it's the opening of yet another IHOP Applebee's combo restaurant. I guess they tried it before, right, in Detroit?
Well, yeah, the Detroit is where they tried it. I don't know if it's still there.
Yeah. It's still there. Our buddy Cameron, who lives in Detroit, said that he was going to go take a picture of it for us. So
nice. Yeah.
We'll see.
After that, it was time to go back to the track, and trying to think, upon getting there, I had to meet my friend Bobby Blaze, who he'll be on the show at some point. He's a former vintage seller, and now he's doing photo and video stuff for a bunch of different teams. And
was he the guy sitting down at the end with you?
No, that was my buddy Jack. He's an old BMX friend of mine. I don't know. I think Ashley saw Bobby. You saw Bobby, didn't you?
Yeah, very briefly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Bobby was working all weekend, so he didn't really get much time to hang out. But he had some old NASCAR signs that I bought on an auction that he brought down for me, and that was nice to see him. And after that, we went and walked around the merch area for a while and started drinking. And I talked. I don't know if it's Bobby Pierce's mom. But I convinced her to give me a discount on the Bobby Pierce World 100 shirt because I was apparently Bobby's good luck charm because I'd been, at that point, 3 late model features this year, and he'd won all of them. And she did looked at my credit card statement. She did actually give me $5 off, which was very nice.
Nice. That was Bobby's mom.
Yeah. But that was a fun time. We saw Buddy and his, I forget his co-host name. Seth, yeah. I saw Buddy and Seth there, and we're hanging out with them for a bit. And
Jay came to the track.
Yep. Jay Pennell.
Yep.
Stuff.
Got in saw some, saw the heat races. We decided to. I know Ashley and I and a few others decided to walk down to the late model and modified pits, and I got to say hi to Tim McCready, which I was looking forward to doing.
That's cool.
And after that, Buddy had to walk all the way around the track because he did not have a wristband while we did. And meanwhile,
I felt bad.
pretty much every other gate, like nobody gave nobody even looked, nobody
Nope.
checked anything. Like just
was a
this one,
free-for-all.
just this one particular gate, the woman working was very strict.
Yeah,
So
word of advice: you can't get shit through the gate going from the sprint car pits into the late model pits. It's that little tiny fence, that
Yeah.
little. Like, do not even try it. It's
Yeah.
not worth it. They're always tight there, in and out. They will check your shit. So yeah, don't even bother.
Lesson learned.
Yep.
More advice, I guess I should have shared with everybody.
Yeah.
That I already
Too
knew.
late.
And yeah, it was then it was the rest of the racing for the evening, and it was a good time. It was again pretty dusty, and I'm trying to think of who won what. Anthony Perigo won the modified race, and I believe Williamson won their title in the not modified sprint cars. Who won sprint cars?
Sunshine, Tyler
Sunshine.
Courtney, the bag man, call the
Yep.
guy. Yeah, that's right. Tyler Courtney picked up a big win there. Kind of
Yep,
put a dick
and-
stomping on him. By the way, David Gravel had the title wrapped up the
Yeah.
previous night, so there was nothing really going on there. So everyone was kind of going a little harder. People racing David as if he didn't have points on the line, because he didn't. So Buddy
And there
Kofoid
were-
was
there were
getting pretty
also-
fucking chippy. I'll say that.
Yeah, there were quite like at least 3 or 4
Two-
flips, I want to
two
say.
flips.
Well, the
at
wildest one being Gio Selzy. He had an issue with his rear axle, and his right rear came off the car, and he flipped when they were buzzing the track. So before we even had green flag out,
That's right.
we had a car ass over tea kettle. Gio was fine, but it is what
Yeah,
it
he
is.
didn't really flip. He kind of just like his car spun towards the wall
he
and then just
flipped.
kind of. Did he?
did. Oh, yeah.
I thought he just kind of
Yeah.
like landed on its side.
No, he flipped pretty big. Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It was certainly not something you see in under yellow conditions very
Yeah,
often.
no, definitely not.
Somebody else flipped. I forget who it was. I think it was it Dason Pursley? I can't remember.
I thought Buddy Kofoid flipped.
It was Buddy. That's right. Buddy
Yeah.
Kofoid flipped. Landon Crawley had a shitty night too, which of course I went up and talked to his family and told them how much of a big fan I was, because they're from the same area that my family in Arkansas is from. And I, of course, by doing so, I cursed the fuck out of them. They did not have a good weekend as a result. So
Yeah, I also feel like I jinxed Bobby Pierce.
you're going to be getting a Venmo request for $5 coming up.
Because I told, like I said, I told his mom I'd been there for three straight feature wins, and he did not win Saturday night. Chris Warren, is that his name? Chris Warren?
Well,
Hello?
Which one? What?
Won the late model feature.
No. Chris Madden won the
Chris
late model
Madden.
feature,
Okay, yeah, Chris Madden.
Chris
Yeah,
Smokey Madden, yeah.
Chris Madden won the feature.
So I used to know a guy named Chris Warren, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And then my brain just jumped.
I also know Chris Warren.
Smokey won the late model feature.
And who won the title?
The title went to Brandon Shepard in his final
that's
ride
right.
for the B5 team, the Longhorn factory car. Of course, it came out right after the finals that he's going over to the Rocket 1 next year, replacing Tim McCready. McCready's going over to Boom Briggs' team. To where he'll continue to do his thing where he's kind of good sometimes and then not that great other times. But yeah, Brandon Shepard going back home to Rocket. That's going to be pretty cool. It's a shame Tim McCready couldn't do a little bit more in the one, but I think we all kind of expected a change was coming. The big rumor was Josh Richards was going to come out of retirement and drive the family car again, but that obviously is not happening.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely. Also, quick shout out to Jacob Allen, World of Outlaw sprint car driver. Big fan of his. Of course, our friend of the program, Alex Hammett, he crewed for him at Knoxville, and he's just been a good friend of his for a while. And by proxy, I pulled for him. I went up and said what's up to him. Went up to his trailer, and this poor guy I stuck my hand out to shake his hand or whatever, and he kind of looks at me and he's like, I'm not going to shake your hand, man. I got fucking cortisone all over my hands. I'm sorry. He's like rubbing his hands, and I was like, all right. And he's like, yeah, I got bit by a fucking ant. It really hurts. He's like, especially when I'm trying to drive a fucking sprint car. It's terrible. And like I was like, all right, well, I'll get out of your hair. And then he just kept talking to me because I think he felt bad because he was kind of standoffish when I first went up there. But yeah, Jacob's a great guy. And shout out to Alex. Everyone on that team says hi. I found out that he does wear a shirt when he's around them, so they confirmed
Yeah, I think
it.
you need to at least have a shirt on in the pits.
Yeah, exactly. You're refueling a car in Knoxville. But yeah, good job, Jacob. He had some okay runs. I think Thursday night he got a top 10, and yeah, he was kind of in the mid-pack, except for on Friday when he spun. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a fun time. I think the racing, at least from my eyes, I think the racing Friday was better than Saturday.
I would agree with that.
And I mean, overall, I kind of knew what I was getting into this weekend as far as the racing quality. I mean, definitely was no Eldora, I'll tell you that much.
No.
But it wasn't really about that. It was about hanging out with everybody. And I mean, I definitely had an amazing time. And
I mean, there was some drama for sure.
Oh yeah.
Chris Madden kind of chopped Ricky Thornton Jr. a little bit on lap 4 and damaged his nose a little bit, which pissed Ricky off pretty good. Later on in the feature, Ricky just tried to straight take out Chris Madden a couple times, which he was unsuccessful in doing. Ricky still managed to get a top 5 out of the deal. Actually, he got second still, despite almost spinning the car out. And they kind of got into it down in Victory Lane there when they were doing the photos. There's a great photo of RTJ and Smokey just in each other's faces, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this or not, Madden, up until about 3 weeks ago, was Ricky's crew chief. And he just quit all of a sudden. And now he is driving again, and he just whooped RTJ, and that didn't go over too well. So I don't really know what's going on there. Of course, Madden had sort of gone into semi-retirement. He had some health issues this year, unfortunately, but is now back in the car. And a really cool moment, we were sitting over in the pit side of things on the grass, and I'm pretty sure his family was sitting just off to the left of us, and they were hooting and hollering and just getting stoked every time he passed by. And it was really cool to, as much of an RTJ fan I am, it was really cool to be able to see that and see his family be so excited for him to come back and win such a big race and take home a big check. I wish we would have got video of that because it was truly special to see that.
Yeah. And also, we did, Ashley and I did watch at least the very end of the Xfinity race while all this was going on. And yeah, that race seemed a bit more chaotic. I guess Justin Allgaier, he had issues. I think he had 2 penalties in a row, I want to say, and I think might have been a lap down at one point, but managed to get his way back up front. We saw there was a caution. I think it was a green-white checkered situation, or at least with less than 10 laps to go, and everybody pit, and everybody but Austin Hill took 4 tires. He took 2 for the track position, and I thought that was a smart thing to do, but he got smoked right away when the green fell, and Justin and Riley Herbst had a nice little battle for the win. Herbst got the win in his last Stuart Haas ride, at least. I mean, he's supposed to be going to 23:11, but who knows what's going to happen with that.
Yeah.
But Allgaier finally got his title, which was cool to see. I mean, Junior and his sister and the whole team were just so incredibly excited for him. And it was a feel-good story. It was his 7th attempt at a title in the chase format, and he finally got it. So good for him. I mean, that was definitely, I think he was definitely the other guy I think we were all pulling for the title. So that was good to see for sure.
Maybe not a good night for Kenny, who was reading off all the bets he had and how that would fluctuate depending on the situation. I don't know how he made out on that one, but he was definitely going for a Cole Custer victory in that one. Maybe Austin Hill, I think, as long as somebody else finished 5th or some shit like that. But yeah, prayers up for Kenny. I don't know if he did too well on that one. Yeah, a couple other notes from my night. I did go down to the late model pits just to take a cruise. I ran into Matt Dillner down there. and his son Hudson. And apparently it was Hudson's first dirt late model race he'd ever been to, so he was getting the full show. Of course, Matthew Dillner, you know who he is, so he knows everybody, and he's known everybody for a long time. So it was kind of cool getting to see Hudson meet his favorite race car driver, the Nightmare Jimmy Owens. He was super gracious and all that, and we went up and said hi to Tanner English as well, got us a picture made there. Just kind of, it's always cool to, I had a similar experience showing my father-in-law around the racetrack. You know, I love, you know, bonding with family and having that experience with people you love, and it was really special to get to see him and his son have these moments down in the pits. There was a moment where we were kind of wandering around, and then it's just the three of us, and then Dillner looks at me and he goes, "Oh, I gotta pop in this hall. We left our bag in there. Hang on one second. You know, Hudson, stay with your Uncle Rob." And he just darts off, and I'm just standing in the middle of the fucking pits with a boy who doesn't know me.
You have to keep alive now.
Yeah, so I appreciate that Dillner trusts me with his son, who's a very sweet kid. I really enjoyed hanging out with him. We had a nice talk about racing and stuff like that, and just talking about his experience. Real sweet kid, but that was a funny moment where I was in charge of a child for a brief moment, which is not something I expected to do. What else happened? There was at one point where Kyle found himself a Hoosier tire carcass and was carrying that around, and he made a seat out of it, which worked pretty well for about 20 minutes until it started to sink in, and he now has back problems as a result of it bending him into the shape of a banana. So if you know a good chiropractor in the Concord area, let us know. He's probably going to need that.
He's also got some new living room core. It's the only thing in his living room now.
There was also a bit of a domestic dispute up and to the left of us, like maybe the row of chairs right in front of us. There was some sort of, you know, people arguing and ladies arguing.
Oh, yeah, I definitely missed that, damn.
And so we were getting ready for Johnny Gibson to ask us to all take our cell phones out and do that thing. You know, it was during track prep. And so Kyle got his phone out and turned the flash on and was waving it around. And this lady turns around and she goes, "Hey, would you knock it off with that flashlight? Seriously." And then we're both just like, I guess. And then Kyle and Kenny are sitting behind us. They both kind of look like, what the fuck was that, you know? And then as when the Outlaws actually came out for their 4-wide and everyone had them out, we noticed a big old, just giant splash of light coming from behind directly on that lady's back, and it was Kyle with his fucking bat signal flashlight. Had the whole crowd roaring.
It was the same lady that thought Brian was Kid Rock.
I don't think it was, unfortunately. It could have been, but yeah. And of course, it cleared out for the late model feature. You know, but that's kind of the thing. A lot of people are there with specific teams or for a particular series, and they kind of take off when their shit's done. And of course, this group of morons were the only ones that stuck around in our section besides us. So there was like having a bee hanging out, or an ant if you're Jacob Allen, I guess. Poor guy. But yeah, just a couple of little notes that I had, little notes of humanity there. On a night full of them. Again, the best part of this whole thing, the racing was pretty good, particularly Friday night. That late model feature was awesome. But just hanging out with everybody. And I think we say this anytime we have a racetrack experience episode, especially just being able to be with the two of you in the same place amongst that crowd. It was really, really special. Like my heart was incredibly full driving out of the racetrack that night. And I was really sad I had to abandon you guys since I had to be at the airport at like 6 a.m. the next morning, which was brutal.
It went by way too fast.
Yeah. Did you get a hot meal afterwards? I know you were looking for one, Truelove.
We went to Taco Bell.
Woo!
But the highlight for me, you know, it was great meeting you guys, whatever. But Saturday.
Oh, that's right. We skipped over this.
Me and Kyle went wandering through the sprint car pits, and we ran into Dillner as well, and I got to meet his son, which was really nice because he was standing there explaining to Hudson like why the tires are different sizes on the back of the sprint cars and all that. And so after they left, we wandered down and found Casey Kane's pit. And his car was parked out there, and I was like, okay, well, I don't see him, so I'll just take my picture with the car, and that'll be it. You know, I don't want to bother anyone. We're kind of standing around the car, and I walk past it to the other side, and I look in the hauler, and there he is standing in the light in his driver uniform. and he picks up an air hose and starts hosing off the dirt off of him, and everything is in slow motion, and went on for so long, like Dreamweaver was playing in the background, and it was straight out of a movie. But so I watched that out of the corner of my eye.
You watched Casey take a shower?
I didn't want to stare directly at him, but I was definitely watching out of the corner of my eye. And I was like, well, I'm not going to walk up in the holler and bother him. I was like, we'll just lurk here for a minute and see if he comes out. And he came walking out right after that. And a couple other fans came up and we were talking to him, and we got their picture made. And I didn't want to bother him. His lady friend was there, and their young child was there. But I did get a quick pic with him, and Kyle did as well. And holy shit, that man has not aged one iota since the last time I saw him in person 20 years ago. I think he probably looks better than he did 20 years ago. So
Nice.
that was the highlight for me, was seeing Casey Kane up close and personal.
Perhaps a little proximity bias there, but
Yeah, it was also my first time ever going to a 410 sprint race, and my first time seeing Casey run dirt too. So
okay. He did okay.
yeah, he had a good night Friday night. It was his best finish that he's had in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
He finished in the top 5, so.
I think my favorite moment of the whole thing, outside of hanging with everybody and just like these little flashes of just laughing my ass off with all these people that I've been fortunate enough to spend time with this year. You guys weren't around for this because I parked on the other side of the racetrack coming in on Friday, or on Saturday, but I was able to. I walked into the sprint car pits right as they started engine heat, which I don't know if you guys have ever experienced that, but it's just fuel burning and your eyes just burn. And the smell is, and the sound, it's just incredible. You know, just 45 sprint cars all just lighting it up at once and getting the heat into the engines and all that. And the smell is just something that it's a hell of an experience if you ever get to do it. I recommend buying a pit pass and getting a chance to breathe in all those fumes. It's something else.
Yeah, so I guess after that we all went our separate ways, and we went back to Kyle's house, and like I said, got food, and I was up early in the morning because I had a 7-hour drive and I wanted to make it back for the Cup race. And Rob, you had your 6:30 flight, and obviously you made it back for that. And
yeah. Oh, before we move on from the dirt track, quick shout out to Cameron and Nick Zeb. Of course, Altered Stock and Nick Zeb on Instagram, 2 of the best photographers in the game. They came to see us, which, again, I'm a big fan of both of their work, and it was kind of weird for them to want to come hang out as a result of listening to this podcast. So that was kind of nice.
Yeah, it was great to meet Cameron in person finally.
Yeah, and they sat down and they watched the modified feature with us, and we had some laughs, and it was a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I guess now we can talk about NASCAR. Back to more current events, I guess. So yeah, Sunday happened, and it was pretty much exactly what we all expected, at least what I expected. It was the Penske show for the most part, although Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson both had moments where it looked like they might have been able to pull out a win, but that did not happen. Joey Logano gets his 3rd Cup Series title, where there wasn't a decent little battle. Blaney was doing his best and managed to catch Joey with maybe 2 to go, I want to say, but just couldn't get the pass done. Reddick was in the top 10 all day, but really wasn't much of a factor. Same thing with Byron. I think maybe for a second he led, but it was really just Penske. So. Yeah, that was it. The NASCAR season is officially over. I don't know.
On to the video of the week.
I don't know what else you guys have to say about it, but we can talk more about playoffs and shit afterwards. But
well, I will say I watched this. I stayed in town an extra day, and me and Kyle went over to Jay's house. So I appreciate Jay having us over to watch it in his backyard, and they cooked up some brisket and chicken and drank some beers. So
nice.
It's a good time hanging out there, even though none of us were pleased with the results.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I'll say this for Phoenix, that was a pretty good race. I thought that's about as good as you can expect out of Phoenix, pretty much with any car, and particularly the next gen car. So, it was a bit of a snoozer for sure. But watching Blaney come to the field was exciting, and when Kyle was racing Blaney a little bit, that was exciting. And the fucking pace car hitting the barrels, that was awesome. That was fucking killer.
That was the best part of the race.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but yeah.
No one does.
It was just another moment where NASCAR steps on their own dick. They've had a lot of that this year, so that was a very funny moment. But I guess the bigger talking points is just all the chatter and stuff that kind of came out afterwards. I mean, there were reports at the track that the crowd was pretty deflated, and everybody kind of just left right after and wasn't really too excited about seeing Logano win, which isn't that much of a shock. But I guess the bigger talking point is all the debate and talk about the playoff format and all that. And some people obviously wanted to go back to a full season format. Some people wanted to go back to the older style chase format where it's just like 10 races and there's no eliminations. There's talk about maybe the when you're in deal should go away, and I wouldn't be opposed to that necessarily. But at least for me personally, especially after seeing Homestead, I honestly think a lot of this chatter would go away if Phoenix wasn't the finale. I think if what we got last week was the actual finale, there wouldn't be any of this talk. Like, people would just be happy and excited because they got the race they should have gotten. There's already talks about potentially changing the format next year and in 2026.
Which is fucking incredible, because on Friday or Thursday during Media Day, Steve O'Donnell's up there saying how great it is and how there's no way this is going away. And Monday morning it's a different story. So I guess
after the internet had to come apart.
Yeah, it's one of those things where a lot of the drivers and stuff. You hear Kyle Petty and Kenny Wallace and Harvick and stuff. They're all saying the chase format's not going to go away, and this is good for the sport, and this, that, and the other thing. And like I said, I am not a chase format hater necessarily, but I think when you look at all the stuff that happened this year, all the shady shit with Austin Dillon, and not that it's shady, but I mean Harrison Burton making the playoffs, he shouldn't have been in there. The stuff at Martinsville that happened.
I mean, your champion came out of a DQ, so
yeah, champion came out of DQ. You look at the the 3 of the 4 finalists. Yeah. Three of the 4 finalists were guys that won to get themselves out of a must-win situation to make it to the Final Four, So I guess it kind of remains to be seen what's going to happen. I mean, obviously, it's only Tuesday after the finale, so there'll certainly be
36 cars in the chase. It starts at Daytona. And I don't know.
There'll certainly be more to come with that stuff after the fact, but let's see what else happened at Phoenix. So it was the end of SHR, and
Martin Truex Jr.'s final ride.
Yep, Martin was very ecstatic to get out of the car. Like, he did not regret his choice at all.
He's had his eye on that fucking bass boat ever since he bought it.
Yep. So that wasn't a surprise. With the SHR stuff, what was funny was Noah Gragson decided to just do burnouts after the race for no reason at all, which is very funny.
Well, apparently they agreed that whoever was the top finishing SHR car could do a little baby burnout.
I didn't hear that.
But apparently Priest got left out of the final group lap that they did.
Yeah, like that was very weird, and there's been some weird shit going on with that for the last few months. So nobody really knows that story. I mean,
he went straight over to Brad Kay after the race, so I think that kind of tells the story right there.
Yeah, I mean, we're just all, there should be some news with that in the next couple weeks. I mean, Brad had a nice little tweet thread after the race, and he said, there'll be the announcement's coming very shortly. So I'm sure by the end of the year that'll be official.
We also said goodbye to FedEx.
Yep, Denny Hamlin officially said goodbye to FedEx, which is, again, there haven't been too many sponsors over the last few decades that have been around for the last few decades, and FedEx was one of them. And their sponsorship has become less and less over the last few years. Denny's had a bunch of their names on the car, but it's always disappointing when you see an incredibly long-time sponsor leave the sport like that, which granted, I guess FedEx isn't doing that well as a company, so I'm sure that has something to do with it. That also, to me, begs the question of how appealing is Denny to sponsors right now? Granted, his role as a driver is much different than his role at 2311, but is there going to be some sort of overlap there with sponsors maybe not wanting to work with him because of that stuff? I don't really know.
Could be. Who knows? That's a good thought.
He's still one of the top guys in the sport, so it's not like he shouldn't have sponsors. But I mean, we saw this issue last year with Kyle Busch, and that's what led him to RCR. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, he's already got other sponsors, so maybe they'll step up or he'll get somebody else on board. But interesting stuff there. And I'm trying to think what else. Any other news and notes, at least as far as the NASCAR world from the
Anthony
weekend?
Alfredo getting a big penalty for his right hook that he pulled off in the Xfinity race. Yeah, I don't know. I don't care really,
Yeah, I didn't see it. I saw some tweets from Tommy Joe saying that Anthony had called him and apologized and said it wasn't on purpose, and he's like, I believe it, and
It kind of looked on purpose, but
yeah, I honestly didn't even see the wreck, so I have no idea what happened.
Yeah.
But anytime you right hook anybody is not good. So
one of my favorite little things is Joey our champion was 14th in regular season points, which he had I think it was 17.1 average finish for the season, which makes him the champion in NASCAR with the lowest average finish of all time.
Yeah.
And every week, Gluck puts out his poll, and every week Hocevar has a little comment that he leaves under it. And Hocevar's comment under it this week pertained to saying, talking about how much he enjoyed the race and how good of a season he had. And he said, I only finished one average finishing position below the championship. So maybe next year get that. But he did get Rookie of the Year, so.
Which was well deserved. I mean, he had a great season and really didn't get himself in much trouble at all, which was good to see. I like him a lot, and I'm glad to not be let down by him by making stupid moves this year. So I'm excited to see what he's going to accomplish the next few years. So that was cool.
Pretty wild that Logano, despite having kind of a shitty year on paper, he did get 5 wins this year, which is pretty.
Was it that many that we suffered through?
It was.
I thought it was 4.
Maybe it was 4.
Yeah, I think it was
Still
4.
too many.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of wins.
Yeah. One thing, I'm sure we'll talk about this next, but someone please correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I just was so tuned out to not wanting to listen to Joey Logano make words after the race that I wasn't paying close attention. But I don't recall him ever acknowledging Bobby Allison, which bothered me. Like, Bobby drove for Penske, Bobby drove the 22. He just passed away, and for you to win and not acknowledge him, maybe he did and I didn't catch it, but
I turned it off as soon as it was over, so I couldn't tell you.
I don't recall hearing Bobby's name much, no.
Yeah, we fuck with Joey Logano. Let's talk about that. We found out the news on Saturday night while we were at the dirt track that Bobby Allison had passed away. I know that Bobby means a lot to Truelove and I, Brian as well, but I know that the two of us are big Alabama gang people, and we were both big Davey fans and Bobby fans by proxy. He was slightly before my time, but he was around when I started watching when I was shorter than Hudson. But yeah, just I was he 88 years old?
86.
86. Not a surprise, but still, definitely one of the Cowboys that you never expect to hear the announcement for. And to be sitting, I'll say this, not to get too existential or whatever about it, but me knowing a lot of the people that I know in Charlotte that I was hanging out with, and by proxy y'all, came out of a fandom of the Allisons, particularly my friends in Charlotte. Like, I met everybody the first time I played the Beaver because I had a Bobby Allison hat on. And I started talking to Kyle Armstrong and my buddy Frank, basically based off that hat. And now I'm sitting there watching this race, you know, with them as, you know, friends. And, you know, sometimes the legacy of a driver goes well beyond the stat sheet and their accomplishments. And, you know, that kind of hit me in that moment. Is like, fuck, man, like, you know, in a roundabout way, Bobby Allison is the reason I'm sitting here with this family around me right now, you know, or at least definitely a big part of it. So it was appropriate to find out about him, you know, shedding this mortal coil amongst y'all.
I thought it was interesting to find out about it surrounded by everyone and at a racetrack, and you could see like the news spread through the crowd. Like, it hit one spot and you could just kind of see it reverberate through down the line, down through the crowd.
People nodding their heads, pouring beers out, you know, that sort of thing. It was, it was, you know, a very sad but very special moment. And again, I'm, you know, rest in peace, Bobby. That guy lived an incredible life. You know, Cup championships. He's 4th on the all-time win list. I guess this does kind of shine a light on to maybe why they gave him that Bowman Gray win.
Yeah.
They wanted to get it in before he passed, which that had been rumored, but I'm glad NASCAR did that. One of the few things NASCAR really got right this year, in my opinion, but I'm glad they did that because I know that meant a lot to him, and now he's 4th on the list, you know. Fuck you, DW. So. Yeah, rest in peace, Bobby. One of the last of the old guard. So Red Farmer's the last of the Alabama gang still standing, I believe. So
Technically, Hut Strickland is also playing.
And Hut Strickland, that's correct. Yeah. Yeah, not many left.
And Donnie's still around.
Donnie is still.
That's true.
Donnie's still kicking. He's still drinking moonshine at the Moonshine Festival.
Fuck yeah, he is.
I'm glad. Yeah, I had always wanted to meet Bobby. I was at Atlanta in 2018 and saw him whiz by on a golf cart one day, but I finally got to meet him and, you know, share a few words when we went to North Wilkesboro last year. So I was glad to at least have met him because there's so many legends that I didn't get to meet. But
yeah,
he up until the bitter end, like that's where he, as Dale Jr. had said in one of his quotes about Bobby, is that he still kept going to the racetrack long after his career ended. That's where he wanted to be. So you could always kind of spot him whizzing by on a golf cart.
Yeah. Well, I hope we all have that in our future. So being racing grandmas someday, you know.
Racing meemaws. Onto some better news. This news actually just broke today. Looks like my favorite spotter in NASCAR, Brett Griffin, is no longer a part of Door Bumper Clear. He announced today that the newest episode is going to be his last. I don't know exactly why. There were a couple tweet responses that almost were kind of sour grape flavored, I guess you could say, and I don't know, maybe all of his ridiculous online bullshit has finally caught up to him, and maybe now get a show on Truth Social or something. But
now I can
not
finally,
sad. Maybe.
Yeah, now I can finally listen to Door Bumper Clear.
Yeah, I was gonna say same here. So definitely not mad about that.
Yeah. I don't know. I know you don't like him, and he does say some dumb shit on the internet, but I do think it's a shame that. I think what he brought to that show and to the NASCAR media space was important because you don't really get to hear the perspective from the sort of advertiser marketing world too much, and he definitely had great insight there.
That's the one place I'll give him credit is when I saw him talk about some of the real issues. You know, he made some good points, and he's not stupid in that regards, but he's a dumbass in many other ways, and you know,
I will
maybe that
personally.
Caught up to him.
Yeah, sure. Regardless of that, I'm a DBC fan, so I hate to see him go. I hope they keep doing the show because I know Freddie went on Twitter as well and said that, you know, if they keep doing it, we'll see what it looks like. But I do really appreciate that show. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I think the insight they bring is important, and I don't see anybody filling the hole. that they currently fill, particularly with Brett's insight when it comes to sponsor negotiations and inner workings of teams and stuff like that. I think that's important to find, and I don't know if you'll find anybody else is going to be as open as he was. So, kind of bittersweet there. But hey, Kenny Wallace's show is out. I haven't listened to that yet, but
Is it?
I think it was just released. I saw the little preview clip they posted on YouTube, and it's pretty much what I expect. I mean, I'll definitely be listening to it.
Real
for
missed
sure.
opportunity not calling it the Kenny and Kenny show. I feel like that's, how often do you get two of those in a room together,
He talked about that somewhere. I forget exactly where, but it was something to where they wanted to use the nicknames or something. I don't know, but regardless, it'll be a fun show, so I'm excited to check that out.
Yeah, that'll be good.
And what else? The injunction that we talked about last week with 2311 in front row. The courts denied it. However, they denied it with the caveat that if they come back with evidence that there will actually be financial damage to their businesses, he might potentially reconsider it. Because I guess that they didn't really bring all the evidence. But however, this means that NASCAR actually finally has to start opening up their books. So it's going to get interesting from here on out, I feel like, as far as that stuff's concerned. And I don't know exactly when they go back to court, but the team's already filed their appeal, and the lawyers seem to be okay with the result. So I have a feeling that it's only going to get more interesting with that stuff.
I mean, it's in 2311 in front row's best interest to try and get this nipped before Daytona if they can.
Yeah, because that's the other thing is Denny was asked about their plans for the Clash and the 500, and his response was just TBD. So interesting there. I guess we'll see what happens over the next few months. And yeah, it definitely would, like you said, be in everybody's best interest to just get this over with and come to some sort of settlement. But we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. Got a couple pieces of short track news here before we move on here. I know we talked about Brandon Shepard going to Rocket One. That's definitely the biggest piece here. Speaking of guys leaving their rides, Carson Lofton looks like he's going to be stepping out of his family Smart Tour ride, at least on a full-time basis, and he's going to go run with Nelson on the Cars Tour, switching to fenders, which I know that's something that they have been kind of mulling over for a while, and now it seems like it's happening. So it'll be interesting to see Carson in a fender car. He's a wheelman. I've talked about him a lot on this show. I think very highly of him, and I'm curious to see what he does in such a good car. And then here's something Brian can probably speak on a little bit, but I don't know if you guys have seen this on Twitter, but there's been a lot of talk about XR.
Yes.
And
so I didn't see as much from.
Haven't been getting paid.
Yeah, I didn't see as much on the Twitter side, but I saw on Facebook. There was a post on. There's a group I'm in called "You Don't Have the Balls to Run the Cush," and there was a tweet or a post there, who's the track owner's name? Who's also the car owner's name? With RTJ, that $100,000 race.
Peyton Taylor is his name. He's a chassis builder of stock cars, and he's been running for a long time. He was the first to finally openly speak out about this. He put a video on Facebook, which honestly, it wasn't really all that informative. I feel like
he never said Barry Braun's name, which that's the guy who's in charge of XR.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of other people that did. And
he did have a slideshow with some memes, which was pretty funny, including one of a roulette wheel saying, "If you're going to Vegas, you're gambling on getting paid," or some shit like that.
Yeah. Which that was the meme that was in the other Facebook group. But basically, I mean, that kind of explains why there weren't that many cars at Pennsboro, and also has me worried for the future of Pennsboro, just because, I mean, they're the ones who are kind of heading up all this, and it seems like not many people in the dirt world are excited to work with him anymore, and I don't know what's going to happen with that.
Well, it's been kind of an open secret for a little while that the XR shows and anything that he's had his hand in has kind of turned out like this. It takes a while to get paid, and winning $100,000 for a street stock race and it being months later and you still haven't received the check, that's just shitty. And this dude Peyton, he makes a good point about how that kind of reverberates through the industry. You know, if you don't get paid, then the vendors don't get paid. Surely the tracks aren't getting paid. Concessions aren't getting paid. You know, people spend all this money to go to these big money races, and then, you know, they don't make the show or get paid, and now they have to sit out in their local tracks. Now the local tracks have 6 cars starting a feature. People don't want to go see 6 cars, so they stop coming, and it's just like this cascade out when people decide to be bad actors in this world. You know, it kind of takes everybody being on the side of good and honesty, which, you know, has never been the story of short track racing. You know, there's always been a lot of crooks, thieves, and liars out there taking advantage of people. But at the same time, there's never been a worse time for that to happen when things are already so goddamn expensive. So, it definitely a big reason why there was only 28 late models or however many there were at Pennsboro. And I'd be shocked to see, especially now that this news is starting to break into the greater world, if there aren't fewer cars at these shows. And, I mean, they're probably better to stay home from them. So don't write checks you can't cash, I guess, is the lesson, folks.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think. Any other news and notes?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One more piece of news here. The North-South shootout was at Caraway while we were in North Carolina. Could have gone to that, I guess, if we wanted to, but we were too busy being at the dirt track. Matt Hirschman won an absolute shit show of a race. It took him like 2 hours to get 100 laps in. Just a real mess. But, you know, as these Southern races tend to go, when Matt Hirschman comes down, he takes their money and goes back to Pennsylvania with it. So they don't call him big money for nothing. And Matt Hirschman took a little bit more of Confederate dollars back home. But no one's surprised there. That's pretty much the end of modified racing for the year, though. So, well, that's not true, actually. Ice Up 300s this weekend at Riverhead. So if you're at home watching TV and you got Flow Racing on and you want to watch some racing, that's going to be on Saturday. Also, the finale of the Flow Racing Castrol, whatever, Night in America series, Super Late Models, they're going to be going to Sonoya, and we'll see if Chris Madden shows up so Ricky Thornton can try and wreck him again, because that's what he said he was going to do in Victory Lane. So
yeah, I wish I could go to that this weekend, but I cannot.
Still got to cough some dust out before you head to another one. Yeah, that'll be a show. Well, apparently security got involved in it to separate the teams down in the pits. That's what I heard. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. I hope they both show up. And all that said, I'm glad Chris Madden's back. I'm not the biggest fan, but, you know, I love watching people bounce back from adversity and health issues and all that. And it was cool to see him go out there and be fast as hell in the family car and get it done. So, yeah. I guess we can flush it. I know, it wasn't really a septic tank. We've just been in there the whole time.
The
but
whole thing.
Yeah.
Flush that Applebee's mill right on down.
Yeah. I'm just happy it wasn't cold enough for all the shitters to be putting up piss steam out the top, because it's been cold in the finals before. And boy, that is a phenomenon you don't want to experience when there's just...
Those porta potties stayed busy.
Yeah,
there was
boy.
a line.
The one right in front of that little line of them, right in front of David Gravel's hauler, by about midday Saturday, you could feel the floor bowing in that thing because it was so full of...
They were so full. They were like almost up to the edge, and some of them I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was a little chilly on Saturday. It was those fireballs that they blew up in the infield were... nice little heaters, and they kept catching the tires on fire too.
Also, shout out to the fireworks guys for not having an extinguisher down there to put out the grass they lit on fire every single time they did that.
Every single time.
Well, I think Saturday night they just stopped even trying.
Well, there's no
It's
grass
gonna
left
burn
at
out.
that point.
Yeah.
There was a guy stomping on it, and his fucking New Balances out there at one point. It was good.
Well, are you gonna flush it or what?
Oh yeah, I can flush it again. We'll have to bring the truck in to suck all this shit out, but...
Oh, that's gross. Very gross.
I also didn't eat dinner once this entire trip, I realized. I was on a one meal a day strategy, so maybe that's why I was so tired of the beaver.
Yeah. I kept
Yeah,
saying I
that'll
was
do
going
it.
to get food at the track, but the lines were dumb.
Yeah.
Both nights, I just got like a shitty $8 cheeseburger from the trailers that were directly next to us, because like that's just made the most sense as far as putting something in my body that I didn't have to wait a half an hour for.
Oh,
so.
didn't you drink a fucking Carrie Earnhardt lager or something?
I did, yes. Oh, that's right. Yeah. So, the first night they somehow sold out of them Saturday. I don't know why. The beer sucked, but I bought some they had some beer labeled Earnhardt Outdoor Ale, and I was like, well, it's an Earnhardt beer. I'll get it, and get the can, and I'm looking at it, and it's a fucking Carrie Earnhardt beer. Which it was not good. It was just some like shitty ale, like, you know, nothing I would ever buy to drink regularly. But Kyle was saying that the indoor flea market that's near his house, Carrie's got a booth there where he sells like outdoor stuff and soap and whatnot. So I doubt he sells his beer there, but if you're in the Charlotte area,
Oh, is
don't
that
buy
big
it 'cause
one in
it sucks.
Mooresville that has all the diecast?
Yeah,
booths?
yeah, it's that one.
That
Yeah,
place fucking rules, man.
Yeah. I didn't get to go this time, but I'm sure I'll go next time. But yeah. So that pretty much wraps up our Charlotte experience. And you know, as mentioned on the show last week, I think we were all kind of questioning our NASCAR fandom a little bit, and I found a video that someone questioning if they should become a NASCAR fan at all. A guy by the name of, what the hell is his name? Lucas. So I didn't know anything about Lucas when I first found this video, but he has like 3 million followers, and it turns out that he actually was known as Fred on Nickelodeon in the 2000s.
Yep.
He was a pretty popular character back then. I mean, it was well past my wheelhouse as far as watching Nickelodeon in my 20s, but I was at least vaguely familiar of that name and face. So I guess that makes sense why he has 3 million followers. And looking at his YouTube page, it's one of the things he does for content is just like goes and experiences things he never has before, and you know, I'm gonna be an X person, and this video was him trying to become a NASCAR person, and he went to the second Kansas race, which was a great one, obviously, but he didn't really experience it like most other fans did.
Who would have known?
Yeah. So I don't know what sort of guidance he got as far as this entire trip thing was
Zero,
concerned.
what it
Yeah,
Seems like
I think
a basic Google is all he did.
that's what it seemed like, because you know.
Well, they managed to rent an RV, so they made it that far.
Yeah, well, I mean, dude definitely has money for an RV. So yeah, they rented a camper and camped out of Kansas all weekend. And to start the video, he asked, "What even is NASCAR?" And his summation was, "It's just people driving in circles and drinking beer," which isn't necessarily untrue. I mean, there's a little more to that. There's a little more nuance to it if you're an actual fan. But I mean, you know, if you're not. Yeah. That's kind of the gist of the experience.
Even if you are, that's kind of what I did this weekend. So, you know,
well, yeah.
Quite literally.
He said he needed to get in NASCAR drag for the weekend, which is basically him just wearing no NASCAR gear. He was wearing a vintage Carnival Cruise Line shirt, and then a hunting deer and drinking beer hat. And then his brother...
He just looked like he was in Turnstile or some shit, you know?
Yeah, his brother just wore a shitty polo, which, again, didn't make any sense. I have a bunch of different quotes. NASCAR fellas is what the vibe is what he said of their outfits. Like I said, he stayed in RVL weekend, which, you know... I don't think, but most of us don't do that regularly. I mean, some people do, but I know none of us do.
A couple times a year, I guess, but not a nice one like that, that's for sure.
No.
Well, they didn't know that they needed to rent a spot that had a water hookup, so they didn't have water hookups or electricity.
Or a
but
generator.
Luckily, the RV came with solar power, so.
Yeah. They gave us a little tour of the camper, and they compared it to getting on Lady Gaga or Demi Lovato's tour bus, which was very funny.
Somehow I doubt that, but
yeah.
It was a nice RV though. I'll give them that.
Yeah. They're walking up to the merch haulers and stuff, and they get to the I guess it's technically a Toyota trailer, and it's got, Reddick and Bubba and all those people on it. And he goes, Tyler Red Dick. He's low-key a baddie. That was his quote.
I like that his little brother does look just like Christopher Bell.
Yeah, they said he looked like Christopher Bell. He liked Bubba because he drives for McDonald's. They were judging the airbrushing of the drivers' faces on the haulers, which was funny.
Yeah, that was
and the other quote that Lucas said was, "He's got the biggest ego because he's the Big Mac man," in regards to Bubba. They were curious as to if there was going to be a halftime show, which no, that does not happen.
Fucking give the France family any ideas, please.
Yeah.
God damn, don't.
So again, they camped all weekend, and I guess they didn't know. I guess there were 2 races because they went Saturday, and they were like, they were confused as to why nobody was there, and they just thought everybody was drinking and dancing in the campground.
It's not. That is a correct assessment.
Yeah. Well, maybe not necessarily at 2 in the afternoon on Saturday, but I mean, yeah, that probably was happening. I will say they were very excited and loved the pit stops, which that was like interesting and cool to see. I guess like they thought that was really cool. The quotes were, "It's so satisfying and it was exquisite to watch the pit stops."
Yeah.
They were hyped on the driver intros. They did not expect all the praying, which, if you've been to any race anywhere, there are always prayers ahead of times.
Yeah.
And then they were also disappointed that there weren't any girlies with flags in bikinis waving the drivers down to the green flag. Didn't know anything about qualifying and he's like, "I don't understand how they start that way, and even if you tried to explain it to me, I still wouldn't understand it." So that was pretty funny. They didn't understand or expect how loud it was going to be. Like they bought these little shitty earplugs, and then they went and got the full ear.
Earmuffs, as he called them.
He kept calling them earmuffs the whole time.
Their faces of how miserable they were with how loud it was
Yeah.
Yeah, they were upset that they couldn't talk to each other throughout the race.
Yeah.
Like I like to go on events where you can just talk the whole time. And he was saying there was a lady reading a book on her Kindle next to her the whole time. They said the ultimate headache event is what this was. They got bored after about 20 minutes, and then just went and got food. Cheesesteak and fries. It felt right having everything drenched in cheese. Then he asked, "Are there any gay NASCAR races?" Since I'm a gay, which I wasn't going to necessarily point that out, but yeah, I mean it's
once he brought it up.
Yeah, I mean he's pretty clearly.
You can draw your own
homosexual
conclusions within the first 90 seconds of the video.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was nice for him to at least acknowledge that, so I didn't have to be weird about it. But but then he said he mentioned that there were gays, which there actually aren't any gay, or at least out NASCAR drivers at this point. But then he says
not in like the top series.
No.
Yeah.
This is my favorite part of the whole video.
He said all the gays got eliminated before that, further proving that gays can't drive. Which I thought that was a funny quote.
I'd be cracking up.
He didn't understand or expect the burnout that Almirola did after he won, and he said he was wishing that Eric went into his section of the stands to do that because he wanted to get drenched in automobile stench. That was the quote. And afterwards, they were trying to find shit to do, so they decided to go to the post-race concert, which was some like shitty country cover band, and there were like 75 people there. But they said they had a good time. So
I figured they were going to go
cool.
see Tim Duggar, and I was disappointed it wasn't
That's
Tim
who I
Duggar.
thought it was at first, for sure. Sunday, they got up and they went to Pancakes and Worship, and they said they had a good time.
Just because they had free coffee, which is a Josh Davis move. He does that at Daytona.
Well, he also said there wasn't actually any like praying. They were just playing like Bible music and shit in the background, which was interesting. Again, they didn't have water hookups for their shower, so they just took water bottle baths inside the RV. They did acknowledge that Sunday was substantially more packed. They saw a confusing karate performance and then a DJ set as well. When the race started, they called Josh Berry a loser because he spun out on lap 1. We noticed in last place was a Dollar Tree car, iconic. Was another quote. And then again, like 20 minutes into the race, they got bored and went and played pickleball and got a corn dog. And the quote, it kind of seems like nobody wants to watch the race, just drink beer and eat food. Which, like, again, we watched this race at home. It was one of the best races of the year. So, like, I don't know what the hell was going on in his section, if that's how the people around him were acting. They were almost falling asleep during the race. And again, I mentioned the women reading a Kindle next to them. And then they walked out and didn't know who won. And got berated by somebody who drove them back to their RV because they didn't know who won. But overall, I mean, it was a funny enough video. Like, I didn't hate it. And he said he's not a NASCAR person, which is understandable. And then he mentioned like a lot of other sporting events, it's not so much about the sport, it's about the food and alcohol around the sport, which you know, I don't know if I would put those two things as my priorities at races, but I mean, they're certainly up there, for sure. But yeah, it was actually a fun video. The review I got that said it was a horrible waste of time, I wouldn't necessarily call it that. But you know, I enjoy seeing the perspectives of people who don't know anything about racing going to races. Yeah,
the whole time I was just thinking to myself, I wish that me or one of us or somebody could have guided them a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that there is one important thing to take away from this is that when you do go to these things and you have no concept of what's going on, there is no real guidance from NASCAR or anybody on how to make this better. Like, you kind of have to know somebody or go a few times to figure it out. Like, how would they have known that there's an app that you can listen to the scanner on? Or just bring an FM radio and you can actually know what's going on with the race. Yeah. Because that really does, you know, especially at these big cup races, it really changes the perspective, you know, because you know what's going on. Like, because I get it. Like, I've seen some past tour races where, I mean, shit, this weekend at the fucking big block race on Friday, I looked down at my phone for 2 seconds and I looked up and I had no idea what was going on anymore because of all the dust. And I just sat there and watched the cars go around in circles and drank my beer and waited until Matt Williamson won or whatever. So I totally get it, you know. And
I had no clue what was going on this weekend. I was just glad that Rob was there to be my encyclopedia all weekend. I'd be like, just tell me what numbers to pull for. And he would say a driver's name. I was like, no, I'm going to need you to tell me the car number. Yeah.
And I'd list off a series of numbers and letters because that's how dirt late model racing is. But I hope I helped out.
You did.
But yeah, I just wish they had a guide, and I think this is important for any racing series, particularly NASCAR, to consider if they're trying to grow this thing. Because the at-track experience is great if you know what's going on, but if you don't, then, you know. Also, I'm pretty sure they could have brought their own beer and food into the racetrack at Kansas.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Not all the SMI tracks allow that, but I think that's one of them that does. So, you know, I feel like it does help a little bit. But yeah, I went into this fully expecting to be annoyed, and it was very endearing and sweet. And I just wish they had somebody to kind of show them the way a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm not going to deny that part of my goal in some of these videos is annoying you guys.
Oh, yeah.
So I was a little
stated goal.
I was a little disappointed when you guys were like, oh, that was a very fun video. I'm like, oh, well, all right.
I'll never watch it again, and I will not follow that channel, but at the same time.
I don't know. I might watch a couple more of his videos. I thought he was funny, so we'll see what else he gets into.
Yeah. Okay, so for the new video of the week, again, a nice palate cleanser. And I don't know if you all watched this show as much as I did, but it was one of my favorites back in the day. MTV's True Life did an episode in 2001 called I'm a Race Car Driver. And it stars Tony Stewart and Dale Jr. This was filmed in April of 2001, so very odd timing. Yeah. But yeah, did you guys watch this back in the day? Because I definitely remember. I must have seen it. I had to have, because I watched True Life all the time back then, but I don't remember anything about it.
I watched the show, but I did not see this episode.
Okay.
I love the show, so I'm sure I saw this episode, but I can't recall. But I'm sure watching it will trigger some memories. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I found just a few weeks ago an upload with all the commercials.
Nice.
Got posted on YouTube. So that's going to be the video of the week next week. I figured that'd be a real fun one that we'll all for sure enjoy. So that's going to be up there.
Sweet.
Is that it?
Yeah.
I've had enough of y'all this week.
Yeah, I think we're done. I do want to give a quick shout out to late model driver Tyler Bruning. As they were doing the driver intros, or they're driving by on the truck in the staging lane. I probably yelled something ignorant at him, and he looked back at me and started rubbing his beard and pointed at me and acknowledged my beard, which I pointed back at him. I'm a fan for life now because dog recognizes dog, so I'll be buying a Tyler Bruning t-shirt as soon as possible. Of course, he's Mike Marlar's teammate who came in third and wanted nothing to do with RTJ and Chris Madden's little thing on the front stretch they got into. But yeah, Tyler Bruning rips. He had a bad night, but yeah, call me a fan, bud. He's got good taste.
Well, there's going to be no NASCAR to talk about next week, but I'm sure there'll be some other news and shit coming out. And when are the banquets?
It's like the 24th or something, somewhere around there.
Okay, so a few weeks away.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be doing a few episodes, and we'll probably be taking some breaks from here. Throughout the winter, we'll take some weeks off. But we'll at least have a few more episodes before we do that.
Yeah. Oh, also a little housekeeping here. The show is going to be available on YouTube starting with this episode. Obviously, there's no video content to really share just yet. Maybe we'll fuck with that at some point. I don't know. But that's another way for you to listen. And so once that channel pops up, of course, that's where all the videos of the week are posted as well through the playlist. Go give us a like and subscribe over there. And if YouTube happens to be a place to listen to podcasts, we'll be on there starting with this episode. Hopefully tomorrow morning. I don't know how long it takes for the first one to process, but we'll put the whole back catalog and shit up there too. But we'll be on YouTube coming up. So keep your eyes peeled.
Mm-hmm.
Not our faces, though.
No. Listen, like I'm not a video person. We've talked about this before. I think Truelove isn't either. And I just know it'd be so hard for me to sit for like an hour and a half straight because I'm very fidgety. I get up and go to the bathroom and get drinks, and I got to let the dog out and stuff. I don't want to do videos. Maybe little bits and pieces here if we have interesting things or whatever.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't expect any full video episodes anytime soon.
No, I don't think
from
we're going to
us.
do that anytime soon. But I've got some ideas for little pieces that we can put together and
Yeah, I wouldn't
thing.
be opposed to doing some like shit at racetracks or something.
Yeah.
Like I've thought about that stuff, but yeah, I mean, I don't want to do a fucking video version of this podcast. No, thank you. No.
But yeah, we'll be on YouTube, and so you can stare at our logo for an hour and a half every week if you want, if that's something you're into.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it was great actually hanging out with all you this weekend, and I'm excited to do it again next year at some point. But as always, you can follow us on Instagram at meetmeatapplebees and on Twitter at meetmeatthebees. I am Speedway Screens on all the things. SpeedwayTSJ.etsy.com is the shop, and save 15% with MMA Applebees at checkout.
There you go.
You can find me at Casey Kane Mountain Truelove. Posted my picture of us there.
I can't believe you watched him take a shower. That's pretty cool.
I'll never forget it as long as I live. Just replays on a loop in my brain.
With the sun cascading in. God damn, what a moment. Rob Motes _ unofficial on Instagram. That's pretty much it. My band's called These Wild Plains. I'll be in the studio this weekend tracking Charlie Marie's new record, so keep your eyes and ears peeled for that one. I don't know when it's coming out, but I know there's going to be some exciting stuff in 2025 concerning that. And I'd love to see you out there on the road, and love to see you, give us a few pennies for listening to it on Spotify or whatever fucking house you choose to listen to music through where we don't get paid from, but it's all love anyway. So and again, I can't stress this enough. I had such an incredible time with y'all and everybody else that came up and said hi. Met so many people that I didn't expect to meet. Saw a lot of people that I did expect to see, but and you know, I don't get to see a lot of these racing friends very often. And it was awesome to kind of have them all collected in one place, and it meant a lot. So, and particularly Kyle Ayala, is that how you say his last name?
Yeah.
Kyle's the fucking man, and I never met him before. The first time I ever spoke with him was when we did the episode about Bristol, and he's a friend for life after this.
Absolutely.
Such a wonderful person, and I'm blessed to know him now. And again, shout out to Kyle Armstrong, Kenny, Justin. Again, thanks to your family for having us all in your section. And all the other folks that we hung out with this weekend. An unforgettable weekend at the racetrack, and I can't wait to do it again with all y'all.
Yep, absolutely. Cool. Well, with that, it looks like the check is here. So thanks for once again joining us at Applebee's, and we'll talk to y'all next week.